Meanwhile, we are getting reaction to President Trump's new executive order to tackle homelessness. He says he wants to make it easier for cities and states to stop people from sleeping on the street.
Our once great cities have become unlivable, unsanitary nightmares.
A legal earthquake hit in November, and the shockwaves are ripping through RV communities across the country. New homelessness laws now control where people can park, how they can live, and whether they get to keep the only home they have left. And the fallout is already devastating. The nighttime relocation enforcement law. Cities are now forcing RV dwellers to move their homes only between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., claiming it reduces visual blight during business hours. But this creates an impossible survival schedule. Most RV dwellers work day or evening shifts. Imagine a warehouse worker finishing at midnight, then having to navigate dark streets searching for legal parking that barely exists. For seniors, nighttime driving increases accident risk by 60%, especially dealing with heavy rigs, loose hitches, and poor visibility. Parents face heartbreaking choices: wake sleeping children to move or risk expensive citations. Night moves are genuinely dangerous. California reports show a 28% spike in after-midnight collisions involving large vehicles. Exhausted drivers operating 30-foot RVs in darkness is a recipe for tragedy. Enforcement officers patrol specifically during these hours, issuing $50 to $150 tickets immediately. Miss one relocation and you're marked non-compliant in city databases, increasing your tow priority. Over time, this destroys everything: sleep cycles, job reliability, mental health. People become too exhausted to function. It's not really about traffic management. It's a system designed to wear people down until they fail, then use that failure to justify removing them completely. The Window Obstruction Identification Law. This law allows cities to label any RV with covered windows as a dwelling vehicle, triggering enhanced enforcement regardless of registration status. Officials claim window coverings are public safety risks, but 85% of RV dwellers use blankets, shades, or tint for essential reasons, blocking summer heat that reaches 110 degrees Fahrenheit inside, protecting privacy, preventing harassment. For women living alone, window coverings are critical safety measures against predators and strangers. Families need them to protect children from public view. Yet once your RV is flagged for covered windows, you're logged into citywide databases. Officers checking plates remotely can immediately apply dwelling restrictions even when you're legally parked. The cruelty is obvious. Privacy becomes evidence of wrongdoing. Protecting yourself from heat stroke or harassment becomes grounds for $75 to $200 citations. Repeat offenders reach impound thresholds within weeks. This forces an impossible choice no housed person ever faces: maintain basic safety and dignity, or comply with rules that expose you to genuine harm. During heat waves, people must choose between citations and potentially fatal temperatures inside their homes. The law treats self-protection as suspicious behavior, punishing the most vulnerable for trying to survive with basic privacy intact. The Mandatory Engine Operation Law. Officers can now knock on your RV anytime and demand you start the engine within 5 minutes, even at 2 a.m. or while you're at work. They claim this prevents abandoned vehicles, but it specifically targets older RVs. 70% of RV dwellings are over 20 years old. Many have intermittent starter issues requiring battery charging or mechanical adjustments that can't happen in 5 minutes. If your engine won't start on command, you receive an inoperable vehicle citation and 72-hour tow notice, even if it ran fine yesterday. Starter replacements cost $300 to $700. Diesel repairs often exceed $1,200. When you're living on $100 weekly, these repairs are impossible. Seniors with mobility issues may not even reach the driver's seat in time. And if nobody's home when officers knock, the vehicle is automatically marked non-responsive and fast-tracked for impound. This law weaponizes mechanical unpredictability, something affecting every aging vehicle. Your 25-year-old RV that got you to work reliably for months can suddenly become abandoned because the starter acted up at exactly the wrong moment. It turns normal mechanical wear into instant grounds for losing your home, with no consideration for your ability to afford repairs or your actual use of the vehicle. The Generator Noise Threshold Law. Cities set new noise limits at 45 to 50 decibels for generators, quieter than normal conversation. But nearly all portable generators RV dwellers use operate at 60 to 70 decibels, even quiet models. Officers now conduct nighttime sweeps with handheld noise meters, issuing $150 citations for exceeding thresholds. The problem is survival. RVs without solar need generators for refrigerators, medical equipment, heating, and cooling. Heat stroke deaths occur when interiors exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit, common in summer. Diabetics lose insulin when refrigerators fail. Seniors on oxygen concentrators can't function without electricity, yet the law punishes them for staying alive. Battery banks cost $400 to $1,200 and need hours of charging. Quiet generators cost $900 plus. These aren't options for people living in poverty. The real effect? Forced darkness. People sit in hot, unlit RVs unable to use basic appliances. Summer interiors become dangerously hot. Winter nights drop to the 40s. Those using small heaters risk fire, those who don't risk hypothermia. Noise violations accumulate toward total citation counts, pushing people directly toward impound thresholds. This law criminalizes the survival equipment essential for life, forcing impossible choices between safety and compliance while treating poverty as a noise violation. The Storm Drain Environmental Risk Law. Cities can now tow any RV at risk of leaking fluids during or after rain, including vehicles with minor oil drips, coolant residue, or stained pavement within 10 feet. RVs simply parked near storm drains during rainfall qualify. Officials treat old RVs as potential hazardous waste containers without proof of actual leaks. Here's the problem. 78% of older RVs have minor condensation drips from air conditioners that officers routinely misidentify as chemical leaks. Once tagged, you receive a $200 high environmental risk citation and automatic tow order within 48 to 72 hours. Leak repairs cost $600 to $1,500. Transmission leaks exceed $2,000. Most people can't afford repairs while simultaneously handling daily relocation requirements. During rainy months, enforcement explodes. Some cities conduct 40% of annual RV tows after rainfall events. The law pretends to protect the environment, but actually accelerates removal of older vehicles, the only ones poor families can afford. This rule punishes three things simultaneously: weather, age, and poverty. Your 22-year-old RV develops a minor drip. It rains. Suddenly, you're an environmental threat facing immediate impound. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you're poor and it's raining. The law uses environmental concern as cover for systematic displacement. The Public Infrastructure Protection Law. Any RV parked within 30 feet of fire hydrants, utility poles, telecom boxes, or maintenance access points now faces immediate relocation orders. In dense urban areas, over 60% of streets include these infrastructure zones. Officers measure distances with laser rangefinders. A few inches too close triggers $100 citations that escalate rapidly. Cities claim emergency vehicles need clearance, but this law targets RV dwellers specifically. Regular cars rarely receive these citations. The problem is simple physics. RVs are large. Their length makes parking on urban streets without touching invisible zones nearly impossible. Blocks once considered safe become instantly illegal. This forces constant migration into dangerous, isolated areas with fewer lights, less foot traffic, and higher crime. Women living alone report 50% increases in nighttime harassment after being pushed from populated streets. Families lose access to school routes. Workers can't park near jobs anymore. The law is presented as infrastructure protection, but its primary function is displacement. It doesn't actually improve emergency access. It removes poor people from visible areas. Streets you parked on safely for months suddenly become prohibited overnight. You're not breaking rules intentionally. The rules are designed so your vehicle physically cannot comply, giving authorities justification to force you elsewhere or impound you entirely. The Fire Safety Interior Inspection Law. Fire inspectors can now demand entry into RVs to check for hazards. Finding violations triggers fire hazard citations and 10-day compliance orders requiring professional repairs. Rewiring costs $800 to $2,500. Propane line replacement $300 plus. Inspectors don't consider financial ability. Many RV dwellers accumulate belongings because their vehicle doubles as storage. But clutter itself is grounds for violation. The real impact is psychological. Inspectors entering personal living spaces create anxiety, humiliation, and fear. Many see these as invasions. Refusing entry brings automatic citations and enforcement follow-up. Multiple cities report 25 to 40% increases in rapid tows after fire inspections. A rule supposedly preventing fires ends up accelerating homelessness instead. Think about this. Housed people don't face random interior inspections, checking if their extension cords meet code. But RV dwellers living in poverty must allow strangers into their homes to judge their possessions, wiring, and organization. Standards impossible to meet without money become justification for removal. The law treats poverty as a fire hazard. Your inability to afford proper electrical systems becomes evidence you're dangerous. The inspection itself becomes the punishment, stripping dignity while creating documentation used later to justify taking your home away completely. The Heat Vulnerability Evacuation Law. During extreme temperatures, cities require RV dwellers to relocate to designated temporary safety zones, usually paved lots far from jobs, schools, and transit. Officials claim this protects people from weather hazards, but these zones are often fenced, monitored, and open only during strict hours. Some close at sunset, forcing scrambles for new spots. In 100 degrees Fahrenheit plus heat, people must drive miles to designated lots, burning unaffordable fuel. Diesel RVs use 1 gallon every 7 to 10 miles, costing $5 to $7 per mandatory move. Safety zones lack adequate bathrooms, shade, or electrical hookups. Generators are often banned. Families have no water access for cooling. Refusing relocation brings $150 to $300 citations. But moving during extreme weather is itself dangerous. Engines overheat, transmissions fail, heat stroke risk increases. Seniors with mobility issues cannot relocate quickly. Rather than providing resources, cooling centers, water stations, electrical access where people already are, cities provide relocation orders. Heat protection laws become displacement tools. The absurdity is obvious. Forcing people to burn expensive fuel and drive during dangerous heat doesn't protect them. It exposes them to greater risk while isolating them from support networks, medical access, and employment. It's protection theater that actually increases vulnerability while giving cities legal cover to move unwanted populations. The Public Presence Limitation Law. RV dwellers cannot remain within 500 feet of schools, daycares, community centers, and playgrounds. Officials claim public safety, but the rule affects families, workers, and seniors equally. In urban areas, these zones overlap, eliminating huge sections of available parking. A single school can wipe out an entire residential block. For parents living in RVs, this destroys stability. Children who walk to school from 2 blocks away now require miles-long commutes. Attendance drops, triggering school district intervention. Workers lose parking near jobs. Seniors relying on community centers for meals lose access. Enforcement uses automated plate readers mapping RV locations relative to restricted zones. Violations cost $100 to $250. Repeat offenders face impound. This law pretends to protect communities, but actually isolates RV dwellers from resources meant to help them. Some cities have 20-plus schools, making compliance nearly impossible. The cruelty is the assumption that people living in RVs are inherently dangerous to children and communities. Families with children in those RVs are banned from their own kids' schools. Seniors who volunteered at community centers for decades are suddenly prohibited from parking nearby. The law treats housing status as threat level, removing people from the exact places, schools, community resources that could help stabilize their lives and reintegrate them into community support systems. The two-plate verification law. This law requires RVs to display both front and rear license plates, even if their state only requires one. Older Class C RVs, bus conversions, and many Class A's lack front plate brackets. Mounting one means drilling through fiberglass or metal frames. Cities don't care. Missing front plates trigger failure to display identification citations and 5-day tow countdowns. The destruction happens fast. DMV offices take 2 to 4 weeks to mail replacement plates. Many RV dwellers lack permanent mailing addresses. Even with addresses, the $35 to $45 fee competes with food and fuel costs. Officers enforce aggressively because it's fast and easy. One look at the front bumper makes the decision. Citations count toward cumulative enforcement totals. By the time the 5-day warning expires, Most people haven't received replacements, haven't installed brackets, and haven't found legal parking. The tow becomes automatic. A missing piece of metal becomes grounds to erase someone's entire home. The law sounds technical and reasonable until you realize it's specifically designed to target vehicles poor people own. Newer RVs have factory-installed front brackets. Older ones don't. The law exploits this design difference to create instant violations, knowing full well the bureaucratic timeline makes compliance nearly impossible before the tow deadline expires. It's administrative violence disguised as vehicle regulation. The Sidewalk Visibility Compliance Law. RVs parked near intersections, crosswalks, or sidewalk entry points are now visibility obstructions. Even when legally parked, and even when cars behind the same lines face no consequences. Because RVs are taller and longer, they're always considered greater obstructions. Enforcement targets them exclusively. Officers issue $75 to $200 citations based on visual judgment alone. No measuring tape, cameras, or evidence needed. If they decide an RV could block visibility, that justifies the citation. Definitions expand constantly. Some cities consider anything within 30 feet of corners a violation, wiping out nearly all available parking. This law brutally impacts families and seniors. Streets near schools, bus stops, and grocery stores become inaccessible. Parents lose safe walking routes. Seniors relying on flat sidewalks or accessible entrances can't remain in service areas. Workers returning from late shifts find every safe area illegal by sunset. Enforcement doesn't improve safety. It removes RV dwellers from public view. The sidewalk becomes a measurement tool for erasing poor people from neighborhoods that don't want to see them. Your vehicle hasn't changed size. The parking space hasn't moved. But suddenly your presence obstructs visibility when identical parking yesterday was fine. The law uses safety language to justify aesthetic cleansing, removing people whose poverty makes neighborhoods uncomfortable. The Emergency Lane Access Law. RVs must maintain 15-foot clearance on streets designated emergency corridors. This sounds reasonable until you realize cities quietly expanded these corridors to include almost every major urban road. Officers enforce visually without measurements. An RV parked legally yesterday gets cited today if a different officer decides it reduces clearance. The effect? Widespread elimination of legal parking. On older streets common in San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, and Boston, road widths make compliance physically impossible. Even RVs fully inside marked zones are cited because their presence might slow emergency access. Citations start at $100 and escalate. After 3 violations, emergency designation allows immediate tow authorization without appeals. Emergency departments don't request these enforcements. Most don't even know about them. Cities use the law as a loophole to clear entire blocks overnight under public safety justification. Night shift workers and families needing stable locations near jobs or schools are most affected. Many wake at 3 to 4 a.m., finding homes already tagged. By stretching emergency lane definitions, cities turned nearly every block into prohibited space. The law isn't about emergencies, it's about removing RVs without debate. Emergency vehicles operated fine before. The designation simply provides legal cover for mass displacement while making objections seem like opposing public safety. The Curb Weight Certification Law. RV dwellers must now prove their vehicle's weight using documentation dated within 30 days from certified truck scales. Weighing an RV requires driving to industrial truck stops or commercial stations located far outside cities, costing $15 to $25 plus fuel for 20 to 40-mile round trips. For people already struggling with mandatory relocation costs, this requirement becomes another financial trap. If RVs exceed new municipal limits, often set at 8,500 to 10,000 pounds, owners pay additional heavy vehicle impact fees. Older Class C RVs commonly weigh 11,000 to 14,000 pounds, making them instantly non-compliant. Obtaining certificates requires functional engines, working brakes, and fuel money, things many cannot consistently guarantee. Failure to provide updated proof brings automatic $100 to $250 citations. After 2 missed deadlines, RVs are classified unverified heavy equipment and become eligible for impound on road damage potential grounds. This classification bypasses normal appeals. For disabled and elderly RV dwellers, traveling long distances to scales is physically impossible. For families, the cost is prohibitive. For anyone with mechanical issues, driving to scales is dangerous. This rule weaponizes bureaucracy, using paperwork and weight limits, not behavior, to push people off roads. Your vehicle's weight hasn't changed, but suddenly you need expensive documentation proving something that was never previously questioned. It manufactures compliance barriers impossible for poor people to clear. The Mobile Commerce Restriction Law. This law bans any economic activity conducted in or near RVs classified as dwellings. Selling handmade items, offering mobile repairs, sharpening tools, doing haircuts, detailing cars, or even storing work equipment suggesting business intent. For thousands of RV dwellers, these small informal jobs are the only income keeping them afloat. Cities treat these activities as zoning violations, issuing $150 to $300 citations on first offense. Many rely on mobile work because they lack formal addresses, reliable transportation, or stable schedules. A mobile mechanic working from an RV saves customers money while surviving job to job. Under this rule, simply possessing a toolbox can evidence commercial intent. For artists or crafters, carrying inventory triggers enforcement. Cities claim mobile commerce undercuts licensed businesses, but the real effect is economic suffocation. Removing informal income streams eliminates ability to afford gas, repairs, insurance, and necessities. Those hiding equipment risk having RVs labeled improperly equipped, triggering further searches. This law destroys self-reliance, dismantling the last financial lifeline many have. It forces people deeper into poverty and increases risk of losing homes during routine sweeps. It's not zoning enforcement, it's economic strangulation. The law ensures you cannot improve your situation. Work is prohibited. Survival becomes illegal. You're trapped in poverty by design, with no legal path out. The 72-hour personal belongings disposal law. Any item left outside RVs, chairs, bicycles, bins, tools, clothing, strollers, toys, can be tagged with orange notices. After 72 hours, if items remain, city crews confiscate and dispose of them without storing or cataloging. Officials justify this as sidewalk cleanliness, but it disproportionately harms RV dwellers using outdoor space for basic daily life. Space inside older RVs is extremely limited. Families store shoes, bikes, or children's supplies outside because there's nowhere else. Workers store tools outside while preparing for shifts. Seniors leave mobility devices next to RVs for accessibility. Under this law, all of it is treated as trash. City workers rarely wait exactly 72 hours. Many throw items away within 24 to 48 hours. Even untagged items are often removed, leaving people powerless to challenge losses. Replacing tools costs $200 to $600. Replacing children's bicycles costs $60 to $120. Replacing medical equipment costs thousands. This law strips people of personal property piece by piece. It destroys sentimental items, work equipment, and everyday necessities. Over time, the rule erases the few belongings people have left, reducing entire families to nothing more than pocket contents. Your child's bicycle becomes trash. Your work tools become trash. Your late mother's photo album becomes trash. The law treats your entire life as litter, disposable and worthless, systematically erasing material dignity until nothing remains. The Digital Residency Verification Law. RV dwellers must upload proof of identity, residency, income, and vehicle ownership into online municipal databases linked to license plates. Failure to complete uploads, due to lack of internet, devices, documents, or digital literacy, automatically triggers identity verification failure citations. After 2 failures, RVs are treated as unverified property, placing them in high-priority tow categories. Seniors struggle with online portals. People fleeing domestic violence cannot safely disclose locations. Some don't have birth certificates or original titles after years of displacement. Documents get damaged by humidity, leaks, or fire. Yet cities demand digital versions uploaded every 90 days. Once flagged, RVs become targets. Officers running plates see unverified identity and prioritize enforcement, often checking vehicles multiple times weekly. Any minor violation becomes grounds for immediate escalation. This digital compliance system creates technological barriers poor people cannot cross. It punishes those without devices, paperwork, or digital skills, not criminals. The law modernizes enforcement while ignoring homelessness realities. Instead of offering assistance, it automates punishment, using data to speed up home destruction. The digital divide becomes a weapon. Your inability to navigate bureaucratic websites or afford smartphones becomes evidence of non-compliance, justifying removal from society entirely. This is the harsh new reality for anyone living in an RV, and it's spreading faster than cities can even track it. Drop a comment below and share your experience or your thoughts. Your voice is part of this fight. And don't miss our next video, because the hidden agenda behind these policies is something every American needs to see.